Hey everyone, and welcome back to Create Ensemble. It's tough. We're all still processing the news of the LA wildfires, and it's hard,
Mhm.
where to even begin when we're faced with this kind of destruction. But that's what we're hoping to unpack today, take a deep dive into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right, it can be like seriously overwhelming to even think about.
Yeah.
But, even with all this devastation, there's this incredible uh I don't know, wave of compassion coming from everyone,
Yeah.
people just wanting to do something to help. So let's try to channel that energy and do it effectively.
Okay, so let's dive into that. We've got some articles and reports here, and honestly, the numbers are just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Over 37,000 acres burned, more than 12,000 structures damaged, or completely destroyed. And tragically, 24 confirmed deaths, with 23 people still missing, over 150,000 people displaced. It's just,
Heartbreaking.
yeah, it's heartbreaking.
It is. And I think it's important for us to remember this is a marathon, not a sprint. You know what I mean? The immediate relief is definitely critical, but we also have to shift our thinking to long-term recovery. We saw the same thing with COVID-19, right? Those needs, they keep evolving long after that initial shock kind of fades away.
That's a really important point, but, I think a lot of people struggle to think long term when people are hurting right now. So how do we balance those immediate needs with the long term stuff?
Well, that's where giving, targeted giving is essential. I'm sure a lot of you are thinking about donating clothes, food, all those essentials. And that instinct is amazing. It really is. But we need to pause for a second and think strategically about this.
So you're saying hold back on those carloads of clothes. I mean, that seemed to go against everything we usually hear during a disaster.
It does. And it might even feel wrong, to be honest. But just think about it, okay? Those shelters are already completely overwhelmed just dealing with this immediate situation. They just don't have the capacity to deal with piles and piles of random donations. It could really slow them down from helping people.
Yeah, one of these articles talks about World Central Kitchen and how they ran into this exact problem. They showed up ready to cook, and they got flooded with all kinds of random stuff, a complete logistical nightmare. They had to switch gears and start focusing on organizing more targeted donations.
Exactly. And it's not just the physical space. Imagine the staff already stretched thin, right? And
Yeah.
now they got to sort through all this stuff. It takes them away from, actually helping people.
So where do we direct, that urge to give? I mean, I can imagine families, they've lost everything. They need clothes, diapers, all those basics right now.
Absolutely. And the need is very real and immediate. But instead of overwhelming those shelters, what if we, connect directly with those families? Direct Relief, one of the organizations we're looking at today, recommends finding local groups or maybe online platforms that help facilitate those connections.
So it's more about creating that personal connection and understanding what specific needs those families have. Almost like, kind of like adopting a family in a way.
Exactly. And it lets you give support that's really helpful and not just adding to the chaos, right? It gives those families a sense of agency in a situation where they've lost so much.
It's like instead of just giving someone a warm meal, you're actually helping them rebuild their kitchen,
Yeah.
helping them regain that sense of normalcy and control. I love that.
It's all about moving beyond like straight charity and more towards empowerment. And speaking of specifics, World Central Kitchen has been asking for toiletries, things like diapers, wipes, towels, even hairbrushes, stuff like that. They're essential, but often get overlooked in those initial donation drives.
Yeah, it's really incredible how an organization like World Central Kitchen can adapt so quickly and figure out what's actually needed on the ground. It's like they're the first responders of the culinary world.
Right. They really are. And it goes to show how important it is to support organizations that have that kind of experience and can be flexible when things change. Because unfortunately, there are always people out there who will try to take advantage of a crisis.
Yeah. And I was just about to bring that up. It's really sad, but it's something we have to talk about.
Yeah.
Scams always seem to pop up after something like this happens. I know the California Attorney General even put out a warning telling people to be extra cautious.
Yeah, they did. And for good reason. These scammers, they prey on people who want to help. So before you click that donate button, you really need to do some research first.
For sure.
Have you used Charity Navigator or GuideStar before? Those are great
Oh
resources.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I use those all the time.
Yeah, yeah. But are there any like specific red flags that you look for when you're checking out a charity?
Hmm. That's a good question. Personally, I'm always a little wary of organizations that, make those super dramatic or emotional appeals.
Yeah.
especially if they don't really say how they're going to use the money. Transparency is so important.
Right, right. Absolutely.
Also check their financials,
Hmm.
see where the money's going. If a big chunk of it is going to overhead, that's usually a bad sign.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I'd also say to watch out for any organization that's, promising these unrealistic outcomes or like they've got some miracle cure. Those are huge red flags. Real charities are honest about the challenges, and that recovering from something like this takes time.
So, okay, we've talked about being cautious about scams. But for our listeners out there who want to help,
Yeah.
what are some of the key takeaways? Like, how can they make a real difference?
Okay. First and foremost, research those organizations. We mentioned Direct Relief, World Central Kitchen, and the American Red Cross. They've all got a proven track record with disaster relief. And locally, the Los Angeles Regional Food Bank is doing great work. And Save the Children, they're focusing on helping kids affected by the fires. But yeah, do your research, find what feels right to you.
Yeah, exactly. It's about making that personal connection. Okay, but what about people who want to contribute, but maybe they're tight on money right now? Are there other ways to help?
Of course, volunteering your time is huge. So many organizations need people to, sort donations, prepare meals, or just lend a hand. And we talked about this earlier, but connecting with those families directly and giving them specific support, that's another really powerful way to make a difference.
So whether it's donating, volunteering, or just spreading the word, there's a way for everyone to get involved.
Exactly. And I think it's important to remember even small acts of kindness can have a huge impact. We can't rebuild all those homes ourselves, but we can offer support, be compassionate, and just listen. Those things matter a lot.
That's a great point. It's not just about material stuff. It's about human connection,
Yeah.
rebuilding that sense of community. And it makes me think about like the long-term recovery, not just the immediate needs. How can we, as creative people, as a community, help with that healing process?
That's a really good question. It's like, what can our Create Ensemble community offer beyond those initial relief efforts? What skills and talents can we bring to the table to help these communities rebuild, not just physically, but emotionally and creatively?
Yeah, exactly. Like maybe we could offer workshops, create art projects, or find ways to like document and share those stories of resilience. It's all about using creativity to promote healing and hope.
I love that. It's about changing the focus from what do they need to what can we give, and then, finding those points where they connect.
It's about understanding that we all have something to offer,
Yeah.
even if it seems small.
It all comes together, right?
Yeah, it really is. Like
Yeah.
piecing together a mosaic, all those different pieces, big and small, they come together to make something beautiful and strong.
I love that analogy. And it reminds me of something we don't always think about, the importance of just listening. Sometimes just being there for someone, offering a compassionate ear, that can be the most valuable thing.
Absolutely. Sometimes people just need someone to hear their story to help them process everything. That's when those human connections are so important.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe hearing those stories will spark some new ideas, new ways to help and support these communities. It's about tapping into that shared creativity, that human need to connect with each other and rebuild.
This has been a really powerful conversation. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by how big this disaster is, but honestly, I'm leaving here feeling hopeful. We talked about practical ways to help, about being cautious but generous, and how important creative solutions are. Everyone has a role to play in this recovery.
I agree. And remember, this isn't just about today. It's about that long-term commitment to rebuilding and supporting these communities. We have to stay engaged, stay informed, and find those creative ways to contribute.
Well said. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into a topic that's so important to all of us. We'll be back soon with another exploration, another chance to learn and grow together. Until then, stay curious, stay connected, and most